Shadow box cards do not have to be intimidating because I've got tips and tricks to show you how to create them the easy way.
Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad that you're able to stop by today for today's Tuesday tip. We're going to create some amazing shadow box cards. I have created the super simple way to create these cards. Let me show you how.
These are one of my favorite cards to make and send because they stand up on their own. So I know how much you guys love cards that stand, and these are truly mantle worthy and they're so impressive. They have such a great wow factor. We're going to create a landscape and a portrait. So you've got two different versions of the card. Let's start with this one here. It couldn't be any easier, and I'm going to let Designer Series paper be the star. Before I share all the measurements, I do want you to know that there's a free download that goes along with today's video, so you don't need to write any of these measurements down. You'll have the supply list, measurements, scoring lines, photos, everything that you need. And if you're in the United States, friends, I would love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and you can click this image right here and see all the products that I used, or you can just click and order just what you need. All right, are you ready to jump in? Here we go. I'm going to start with half a sheet of cardstock pumpkin pie, and this is 4 1/4 by 11 inches. Let's do some scoring. To do your scoring, you can use your paper trimmer or your Simply Scored board. I'm going to put the 11 inches up here at the top, and there's lots of scoring, but it's actually pretty easy. We're going to go 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Then we're going to move down to 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, 6, and 6 1/2. Now we're going to come down to this end and we're going to get 10 and 10 1/2. I'm going to bring in some Designer Series paper. This is from the To Market Designer Series paper. I loved these little flowers. And what you can do if you need to, you can kind of fold right here so that you can kind of see where your Designer Series paper is going to go. I know with these bright lights on the camera, it's hard for you to see, but you'll know right where it goes. It fits right into that little spot. We're going to bring in some dies because we need to create a window. For this one, I'm going to use the Everyday Details, and I'm going to use this second from the largest circle. It's got some great little dots in it, and I think it just adds so much to this spot. All right, let's die cut. I have got base plate 1, thin die adapter 2, and cutting plate 3. You're going to now take the time, make sure you've got your circle perfectly centered. We'll top it with cutting plate 3, and then we can run this through. And it's going to look something like this. Now, I love this little piece, right? So I'm going to save that. I'll use that on another project. But now we are ready to put the card together, and then we'll do some stamping. So first things first, we're going to fold the card in half. Now, there's going to be score lines for everything. Lots of score lines, right? Now we're going to fold it back, and we'll score again and fold again and give that another crease, all right? Let's flip it over. We're going to do that again. Listen, if you start folding in the wrong direction, don't worry. You can always fold it back. It is not a problem. But let me show you. It's going to kind of start to look like this. Now, we're going to come here on the ends and we'll fold 1 inch in, 1/2 inch back. Do that here on the other side, 1 inch in, 1/2 inch back. And you can kind of start to see it come together. Now, I told you I was going to teach you the easy way. I've seen this method done where they've created 2 separate pieces of cardstock. Why? Why? We don't need to. It's all about simple stamping here. I'm going to put some adhesive right here so that I can adhere the 2 ends together. If it helps, you're basically going to make it go flat. All right. I almost closed up my card before I added a piece of basic white here on the inside. Now I've got 2 pieces of basic white, and these are 3 1/4 by 4. Let's go ahead and add this one to the inside. I've got adhesive down that last side. Now listen, if I had accidentally put this together, I still could have added that piece. So don't stress if it doesn't get put in there, but it does make it a little bit easier. Now here on the sides, I've got 8 little 1/4 inch by 4 inch pieces of designer series paper. What a great way to use up some scraps. I'm going to flip these over. I think my multi-purpose glue is going to be the best adhesive for this because it's just so narrow. So we'll add a little adhesive, kind of flatten out my card, and in these 1/2 inch sections, we're going to adhere these 1/4 inch pieces. I'm going to do this on the front and I'm going to do that on the back. All right, our card's looking great. It's time to do some stamping, and oh, are we going to keep it easy. We're going to use the Throughout the Year stamp set along with a garden green ink pad. I've decided to make this just a simple thank you card. I'm going to flatten out the card so that I can center up my sentiment. And guys, this sentiment could be anything, of course. I've got that. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I've got another piece of cardstock. Same thing, that's that 3.25 by 4. I'm going to stamp thank you here, and I will simply add that to the center of the back. See, I told you it would be easy. I mean, look at that. Isn't that a fantastic card? Let's add a little bow, just to kind of dress it up a little bit. So I'm going to take my mini glue dots. Here's my bow. This is my iridescent striped ribbon. I'll press the center of my bow onto a mini glue dot, add it right there. Look at how much that dresses it up. And like we said earlier, it's going to stand up great. Here's where you can write your message. But the best part about this card, I've got a Stampin' Up! Medium-sized envelope. And yes, you can easily mail that card. Oh my gosh, and just think when they open that up and they realize that it stands. Isn't that fantastic? All right, that is the quick and easy version. I've got another version and we're gonna go landscape. Oh, I'm sorry, forgive me, we're gonna go portrait now. So depending on your message and what you wanna do, you'll have 2 options with the shadow box card.
Don't forget about the free download that I have for you that goes along with today's video. You'll find this download at simplysimplestamping.com, or if you look down in the YouTube descriptions, you'll see a direct link. Guys, this will make creating these shadow box cards super easy.
All right, moving on to the portrait version of the shadow box card. This one, I used the Lovely and Sweet stamp set and the matching dies. All right, now we're only going to be using this die here, but these just were not quite big enough for what I wanted to stamp inside the card. So I'm going to bring in another die set, and that is the Something Fancy, and we're going to use both of these dies right here. Friends, this is all we need to create this card. Can you believe it? That is all we need. All right, I've got a piece of basic white thick cardstock, 5.5 by 8.5. Let me show you the score lines on this because it is different than the previous card. Remember, these score lines are right here on your free download. We will score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. Then we're going to come down to 3.25, 3 3/4, 4.25, 4 3/4, 5.25, then all the way down here at 7.5 and 8. I'm going to go ahead and just score my cardstock in half. And remember how earlier I just kind of folded these down so I could easily see the area that I want my die cut to come from? We're going to choose, remember we had both of these. I want the larger one. And I want it to kind of be up here at the top. I'm going to use my focal, that die cut, to come down here. So I want to leave myself a little space. We're going to run this through our die cutting machine the exact same way we did before. It is a tight fit from side to side. And remember, kind of keep it up at the top. By the way, there's no right or wrong to which side has the fold because it all comes out the same. All right, I'm going to die cut my window. Hold on to this piece because we're going to use this here in just a minute. While I have this out, I'm going to bring in a piece of pretty and pink cardstock. And this is a 3 by 3.5. Go ahead and die cut this larger frame, and I'd like you to do it from one side or the other. We're going to do a little punching from what's left over. All right, we have die cut that. And by the way, forgive me, I have this piece a little bit larger than I needed. Remember, it could just be a piece of scrap. You know what? We have this here. So I'm going to bring in my Petal Park Builder punch. And what I'm going to do with what's left over here, this flower that's up here at the top, I'm going to punch out 2 of these, all right? So it's really easy to do. Hey, if you don't have this punch, just find one of your dies that has a small flower, and that will work too. All right, so I'm going to move those off to the side because, you know what, I think we're going to go ahead and put our card together. You guys remember how we fold it in half? And remember, we just kind of keep accordion folding and creasing all of our score lines. When you get close to that die cut, take it easy. Be really gentle. All right, we're going to check and make sure all of our folding is going in the right direction, and it is. I'm going to go ahead and kind of spread that out for a sec, and we can, just like we did before, we're going to add adhesive here and adhesive here. I'll fold the card in half so that that creates our first panel, and then I'll bring this over. Again, guys, it just couldn't be any easier, right? Okay, I'm going to come in with that piece of Pretty in Pink that I die cut. And you're going to see it's just going to kind of fit right inside my little window, just like that. Now that we have that down, we're going to take this extra piece. Remember, this is what we punched out. And from the Lovely and Sweet, I'm going to bring in a crumb cake ink pad and just sending a bit of love your way. And I've got a tip for you. When we go to stamp this, I want you to stamp kind of towards the top. We're going to die cut this a little bit smaller, but I want the sentiment to be up here near the top. So, you know what, I'm going to use just right where the curve starts to kind of say that's the top for me. So I'll stamp right there. I'll bring in the smaller die, and yep, that's going to be just right. And I will go and die cut that. That's going to come right here on top of the Pretty in Pink with Stampin' Dimensionals. This is a great place for me to use my Stampin' Dimensional bones, so I will just snip that in half, and we can add that here on the side, and that will go right on top of the Pretty in Pink. All right, now to create our focal image. Coming back in now with our Lovely and Sweet. Look at this fantastic, beautiful little floral image. I have a 3.5 by 4 piece of soft seafoam, stamping again in the crumb cake. I'll come in with the matching die and run that through my die cutting machine. When you go to adhere this to your card, you're going to want to make sure you're not covering up any of your sentiment, all right? So I'm going to kind of put it here at a little bit of an angle, and I can see I really only need adhesive down here at the bottom. Again, we wouldn't want it there where our opening is, so just keep that adhesive down there, making sure I'm not covering up that sentiment. There we go. Remember those little flowers we punched out? Well, it's time for another tip. I've got my Stampin' Pierce mat, and you can use your stylus tool. You can even use this tip, either one. But I'm going to take the fatter stylus tool and my Stampin' Pierce mat, and I'm going to give those a press. And do you see how they just automatically pop? It's such a wow. We've got these 2 flowers. I'll give them just a little dot of multi-purpose glue. Add my Pretty in Pink flowers. I've got the iridescent faceted gems. Oh my gosh, you guys, these are so pretty. I'm going to use my putty tool here on my Take Your Pick tool. Add those right here to the center of my flowers. And just like we did on our last card, I'm going to use some of the Pretty in Pink bordered ribbon. And I created myself a great big pretty bow. We'll add that right there. And oh my gosh, friends, aren't they going to love it when they get a card that will stand, something great that they can display, and we'll just keep it between us how easy the card was to make, right? Friends, it couldn't be any easier to create a shadow box card. Have fun. Look at the dies that you have. Punches can work too, by the way. You could do this with a punch as well. And stamp to your heart's content what you would like to go inside there, whether you use designer series paper or just a really great die cut to create your awesome card. Have fun creating, but even more, have fun sending.
Thank you for joining me today for the Shadow Box cards. If you like the video, I would love a thumbs up on YouTube. And hey, if you haven't subscribed, why not click the subscribe button, ring the bell. YouTube can let you know whenever I'm back with a new video, and we'd love to have you. Make it a great day, my friends, and I can't wait to stand with you guys next time. Bye-bye.